Ekweti ofesuko iwe. Eba bombela ma sisters. Eba bombela ma brothers. I am a coach baby, mole mwana ya kwa the sugar daddy. If you might go away, eya sango kala putupu pachunguru pa bombela ma sisters. Gachi kada mumba fumo chasika bipi ya ti kwende chanika. Mula mojeni pini ubo. Wala shinja mo something. Apoti wa sister ya pasa. I am a sugar daddy, mole mwana nefi ma poti baby. Ema ofesi ya banenu. Ema etiko taza ya imo. Ema ofesi ya banenu ya. Ekweti ofesuko iwe. Ema ofesi ya banenu. Ema bombela ma sisters. Ema ofesi ya banenu ya. Ema bombela ma brothers. Ema ofesi ya banenu. Ema deko bige na pana. Gawalo ni shama hipu na bokosi shuka mami soft touch. Bebele fiamma deko efika nchinga chava muchungulu epasa mina peniteni ngachikata achisunkanya na shetane mvishika chapunda baby sende tokai muyo ida ine bokosi na hipu mwamona ema laptop abomfya ode apa shuka mami ema ofesi ya ayama shuka tati mule mwana nefi mapoti baby ema ofesi ya banenu ema etiko taza ya imo ema ofesi ya banenu ya ekweti ofesuko iwe ema ofesi ya banenu ema bombela ma sisters ema ofesi ya banenu ya ema bombela ma brothers ema ofesi ya banenu
Nekopana pasa ushabayeka umukashi kumwandanga lemulisha nishale kulila bananga pabombela kwa ma sisters mwamona de alenchalo kwena jali kosa imwe bomubeta dati pati parufumo lwabo pabombela kwa ma sisters abafika mucheche na machichi baletu kweleka fya mabibi omutolo tabatula bali abatula pabombela kwa ma sisters pati urufumo lwaba na business zone Jimmy instructor efo arukwishe ukashese shiresa amina pa kuchipanga kwa kanyampo
ayama shuka dati mule mwana nefi mapoti baby ema ofesi ya banenu ema etiko taza ya imo ema ofesi ya banenu ya ekweti ofesuko iwe ema ofesi ya banenu ema bombela ma sisters ema ofesi ya banenu ya ema bombela ma brothers ema ofesi ya banenu ema deko bige na pana Bote ni tepele ya mupashi pachito panga motu mashoku Bika te bote te bika te joku Bambi bapanga mofetu masito Sugar da jinga na samba na fwala Na dokta na chipenza magelo Wingila kwa mabiswe Mwema sisters Bego fena bakai Nasanga chishuga mami Atuma na foli kufile jati Nasanga chopo mukalale Ninebo manager pa sugar mami Ayama sugar jati mule mwana nefi mapoti baby ema ofesi ya banenu ema etiko taza ya imo ema ofesi ya banenu ya ekweti ofesuko iwe ema ofesi ya banenu ema bombela ma sisters ema ofesi ya banenu ya ema bombela ma brothers ema ofesi ya banenu ema deko bige na pana ayama shuka dati mule
Hello, good evening, Chuempala. Good evening, world. Elias Munshya here on TVBAKWEtu. I would like to welcome you to our broadcast tonight. We have a few things to deal with, but I just want to acknowledge the song that is playing. It's known as I'm Our Office. I think it's a new song by Pilato and Kopala Pastor, who is also known as the industry, I think. So it's a story about Amaport bellies. So what they are saying is that Amaport bellies are mona a headquarters yawanenu. Atepo babombera ma sisters. Na my brothers na bobe ne chimo chine na basanga amashuga mamis. Okay? So it's known as Our Office. And of course it plays on these popular assumptions okay, I'm a sugar daddy is very what if my pot bellies. So if you sang kama I'm a laptop for some sisters, also for some brothers. Chibi-san. So anyway, that's why I'm trying to ensure that there is no suspicion whatsoever unnecessarily. That's why I'm trying to clear my pot belly. So that abantu beratunganya vamona pot belly vambo kutunganya ati epavombera ati kwali vavavomberapo pali aya no. So I'm working very hard to ensure that Pilato and Gopala Pastor do not think at all, do not ever think that this pot belly is somebody's headquarters. All right, we have a lot to talk about. The first one is the president has been, as is customary, every Africa Freedom Day, the president speaks to the country. And so today he has been speaking to us about several things that have been done. 2,056 inmates have had their have been pardoned, so they're out of jail. I guess that will go to decongesting our very, very congesting jails. 2,000, that's quite a huge number. And we are appealing to all those that are going to be recipients of this grace period to not to take advantage of it, but to reform, right? Because the whole point of our criminal justice system is really reformation. Yeah, it's to punish people for their crimes, but also to reform them so that they can become contributing members of society. And so we hope that though the 2,000 are going to take advantage of that Africa Freedom Day message. We also understand that at least 30 were death row inmates. 30 were death row inmates. And of these 30, they have had their death sentences commuted. What that means is that instead of being killed or hanged until they are pronounced dead, their sentences have been commuted to life imprisonment. Now, this practice has been done consistently. Now, my information was that Kenneth Kaunda was the last president to implement the death penalty, but some people have corrected me that in 1997, actually, Frederick Chiluba did carry out the death penalty on some of the inmates, right? He commuted several sentences, but he then carried out the death penalty on some people. And so that was in 1997. So since 1997, assuming that those that are saying that it was under Chiluba, since 1997 to now, there hasn't been any death sentence. Okay, no president has carried out the death sentence. What has happened is that there has been commutation. In fact, one of the first presidents to address this matter of commuting death sentences was Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. That must have been 2001 or 2002, where he said that he was not going to sign any death warrant for the inmates to be killed, because he believed that as a Christian, he could not carry out such a thing. Levi Mwanawasa, we understand, was first of all, he was a Jehovah's Witness, and then he became a Baptist. So he felt like it was against his faith for him to kill, basically. And so he asked the country to go on a conversation to talk about whether indeed we were going to keep the death penalty on our books. So Mwanawasa, Rupia Banda, Michael Sata, Edgar Lungu, and now Hakainde Hichilema, I think they all don't have the appetite to actually carry out the death penalty. And so instead of just keeping the death penalty on the statute books, I think President Hakainde Hichilema is now moving to change the law so that the death penalty is not one of the options, but rather that the highest sentence for these things be life sentences. So that is what the president is moving to do. And so removing the death penalty from our statute books will involve introducing a law, a new law, or amending the penal code that provides for death through hanging, right? And so this matter is definitely going to be a very hot matter. There are some who believe within the church, the same Bible, right? Others believe that killing a person who kills is biblical. And yet others using the same Bible, they are saying that, no, I think carrying out an actual killing by the state should be restricted because we are not on an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth. So therefore, it's better to punish these people who do very, very bad crimes, that instead of killing them, you actually sentence them to life in prison. There'll definitely be lots of debate about that. Remember, the penal code is the penal code. Our country's penal code is a law. It's actually a law, right? So even if we are a Christian nation, the Bible is not a source of Zambian law. And in a Christian nation, this comes out as a huge surprise to some of my friends, because we think that the Bible is a source of Zambian law. No, the Holy Bible actually is not a source of Zambian law. It's not one of the sources of Zambian law. You can't actually go to the Bible and out of the Bible retrieve the conflicting positions. And they are both claiming fortification from the Bible. So we have the seventh-day president, Bachimpempe, Bakateka Baga in the Hichlema, who is saying that according to his Christian faith, he doesn't think like carrying out deaths is in the best interest of his faith, and so, or even the faith of the nation. And this position is actually confirmed by Edgar Lungu, by Rupia Banda, by Michael Sata, and by Levi Patrick Mwanawasa himself, who were reluctant to actually kill, right? Well, and then there are some, using the same Bible, are saying that, yes, let's go ahead and kill these murderers. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. But personally, I wouldn't also want to let the state kill murderers. I wouldn't want that. And in fact, the state itself has not carried out all these death sentences since 1997. And so there is clear consensus here that most Zambians would not want to be part of it. Yeah. On whether these inmates should be held for life, I think that's better to hold them for life than to actually kill them. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. In the United States, there are some jurisdictions where there is the death penalty, and in others where there is no death penalty. So it really depends on what state it is in and stuff like that. The jurisdiction of Canada has no death penalty. It has life sentence, no death penalty. South Africa has done away with the death penalty. But there are several other countries that still have the death penalty on the books, but they've never carried out a death sentence in ages. All right. So that's the debate that we'll be having eventually. But good luck to the 2,000 that have been pardoned, and I hope that they'll become productive members of our society. 2,000 of you. Tomorrow is Africa Freedom Day, and so we are going to have huge celebrations of Africa Freedom Day. My own memories of Africa Freedom Day growing up in Chuempala was the fact that you would watch the Mandela movie. Oh yeah, you'd watch the Mandela movie on Africa Freedom Day, and all those have become part of our memories of Africa Freedom Day. Very interesting. There are several solutions to Africa's problems. As for me, in reflecting on Africa Freedom Day, I think the biggest problem that Africa faces is corruption. I think that's the biggest problem that Africa has. It is corruption. And I think once we have an idea of how to deal with corruption, we will be fine. As long as we do not sort out a corruption thing, it will take a very long time for us to develop as Africans. Corruption is the biggest threat to African development. And I just hope that the African Union in its business is going to recognize corruption as an existential threat, not only to the unity of Africa, but to the development of African peoples. I get asked the question to say, is in there corruption, Kuvasungu, is in there corruption in China? What I've discovered is, you see, I think there is. I think there is. But there is a huge difference also between African corruption as a threat to African development and some of the corruption that we see in other countries. Right? We just need to face it. Because the more we continue denying that our corruption is a threat, the more the more unlikely we are to sort out these problems. Corruption is Africa's biggest issue. Now, the first thing that every developed country has done, has learned to handle, it has always been corruption. Be it Kubasungu, be it Kuma Chinese. In China, corruption against the state, you die, you are killed. Okay? So if you receive kickbacks, remember, the issue are kickbacks. You sign a contract on behalf of the state, and then with the company that you have signed the contract with, they give you some money. It's known as kickbacks. In China, they kill you. Same punishment in Japan, same punishment kuma Arab nations. And so I notice from this pattern that for a people to develop, they must seriously deal with corruption. The second lesson that I have seen is, you see, the corruption that is amongst our people in Africa, we need to be very clear. It's the selfish kind of corruption that is centered on the personal benefits. That is the biggest issue. The way I have seen Kuma Chinese, you see, we muntunga chakutila kuliama rumors ya kwebati. So language ifure ya chinja, nomba ine ya firu kuchinja. Anyway, but let me address this. In some countries, ngole yivire chalo waiva for the benefit of the country. You see it. In Africa, the problem is that takuwa about corruption that is benefiting the country. If corruption is the one that steals from the country. It's the corruption that steals from Zambia. It is not the corruption here that into Zambia. No, it's a corruption that actually takes away from the people. All the people that are being accused, some of the institutions that are being accused of corruption in Zambia, AMA companies, Chinese companies. So they are doing in Zambia what they can't do in China, right? And the Chinese don't even want to have a conversation or look at it, right? Or whatever happens in Zambia, okay, fine, whatever it is. So what is happening in Zambia can't happen in China, because in China, if you have to be corrupt, then at least be corrupt in a way that benefit chalo chavo, appearing as if that's much more tolerable. They are not steal from the people of China. And that is what we need to address in our country. Dare not steal from the people of Zambia. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to punish corruption? Are we willing, we as a people, to say no to this corruption where mwambo kuivira abekala chalo abena Zambia? You know? And so, if we are not serious in our fight against corruption, then let us kiss our country goodbye and forget about it. I'm serious. Let's just forget about it. There is no country as long as there is corruption in our country. There'll be no development. This has nothing to do with a political party, because some of you think that the reason why we are railing against corruption is because we just hate the Patriotic Front. Truly, the Patriotic Front is a criminal organization in its entirety. They are mafias. But when we say that let us punish their corruption, it is because we don't want the UPND to fall into the same trap. If you excuse Patriotic Front corruption, there is no way you are going to punish UPND corruption. You won't. And if we are unwilling to punish Patriotic Front corruption, then let us just abandon this thing and excuse the UPND to go ahead and steal in style. And if they did, they can steal very, very well. They can do it. What do you think can stop the UPND from doing exactly what the PF were doing? Nothing. That's why when we are insisting to punish corruption in the Patriotic Front, in the former regime, it is because we want this current leadership to stay the course, knowing that there is wrath from the people of Zambia upon anyone who dares steal from their people, from the people of Zambia. That is the consensus we need to have. We can differ politically, we can have different political parties, but on corruption, we need to belong to only one political party, the party that fights against this vice. What is the cost of corruption? Let me give you an African example. Nigeria is one of the world's biggest producers of oil. You know why the oil in Nigeria cannot help their people? Corruption. Angola, one of the wealthiest countries in terms of natural resources. What happens in Angola? The former regime externalized billions and billions of dollars, while our people, the Luvales and the Chokres in Angola, were suffering and struggling to feed themselves. The Democratic Republic of Congo, one of the wealthiest countries. Our biggest problem in the Congo has never been the fact that Abasungu balesa to exploit it. It has always been the issue of corruption. And unless we sort out the corruption issue among African countries, we are not going to develop. Mobutu Sese Seko Kukumbendu Wazabanga, president of Zaire then, from about 1965 to when he was deposed in 1997, or is it 96, 97? His personal wealth was equivalent to the external debt that Congo had. His personal wealth. And so we go back to the question. There is so much that Africa can do if we deal with corruption. And this is not a corruption that the leaders themselves just do it. We, as the citizens of our various countries, we need to say no to it and punish it when we have the opportunity to. Then we are going to develop. That's why we are serious about Zambia and about the fight against corruption. It is serious. It's an existential threat. It's a threat to national security and national subsistence. Corruption is threat number one before COVID, before AIDS, before malaria, before any of these things, corruption is threat number one. Because when you are corrupt, money that is supposed to build a hospital, it doesn't build a hospital. No, it doesn't. For example, in Milenge right now, we say that we borrowed money from the Chinese. Elobaya kula ifyama dongo dongo. What happened to the money? It disappeared. It was stolen. It makes life much more expensive. Now, imagine if all the money in Milenge went and built that hospital and paid for the true value of the things. It means then that by today, we would have a fully completed hospital, strong hospital. Noti hospital na bakula, but na yamba kare okubongo soka. Imirala mu hospital. Mweba ome. Mwakula hospital, mwabomfya cement and sand, but imirara a year or 2 years. In fact, as you are building, mulekula imirara shire pangika. Hospital ire bongo soka. It costs more. And there's some people who say that at least value to like a hospital, but you do not understand that by stealing from that hospital, you have postponed your own development as a people. That pattern must be stopped. That pattern must be ended in order for us to develop. So on Africa Freedom Day, it's not just about political freedom. We are calling that no, we are free. It's nokshana sana we are free. What we need is actualization of that freedom. That is what we want to see. Mobutu Sese Seko saying that Zaire is free. And in fact, he led to the demolition of all the symbols of colonialism. So he allowed the citizens of Zaire to go and smash everything they could see that symbolized Belgians, everything. So if my statues, Philadelphia called leopards, they pounced on them and did everything. And to us, it appeared like that was what we needed to do, right? But buried under that was this president who led his people to abolish all the symbols of Belgian colonialism and corruption. And yet, he took billions and billions from this country to take it to the very countries that he was saying were colonialists. And he built mansions, houses, things that would benefit only him personally and his family and his tribe. On one hand, he is breaking these physical symbols of Belgian colonialism. On the other hand, he is taking money to the very Belgians and building mansions in Belgium for himself. If you hate the Belgians so much and you are willing to break all their symbols in your African country, why then are you taking billions to their country? And so the difference in the way you assess the corruption is Belgium is receiving all these billions from you. They know that it is your personal stolen funds, but as long as it is going to help their country, they are okay with it. They're fine. Because it is helping their country. A quality that is lacking in this senseless dictator who, instead of, if he were to be corrupt, instead of directing that corruption to the development of his own country, no, he's actually stealing from his country to go and develop Belgium. We have got to begin getting serious as Africans and say no. This language, this veneer of Pan-Africanism that only deals with slogans is not enough to assure development for our people. The same kind of approach that was done by Robert Mugabe. Many Pan-Africanists right now, they say that Mugabe is one of the greatest Pan-Africanist leaders because of his rhetoric and the idea that he gave land to the black people. And yet, beneath the surface, you discover that it was all nonsense. Because this gentleman, while he is doing that and he's making his people to be angry, he was not following through the promise of true African development and true African liberation. He himself was externalizing funds to Singapore and several other East African countries, his own house, his own family. And if he fell sick, he would go outside of Zimbabwe to this other country. And so the question is, if we are serious about African identity, African growth, African development, we perhaps need to reject some of the sloganeering that has been going on in Africa to deal with the fundamental questions. If we are centered towards our countries, why can't we direct our resources to development of our own countries? Why should these leaders be externalizing and stealing from us while at the same time telling us it is somehow Pan-Africanist faithfulness to rail against others and yet excuse our own leaders to externalize resources from our countries and take it elsewhere? So I hope that there'll come a time on Africa Freedom Day where we begin thinking differently about what it means to be African. The idea that the slogans of we are an independent continent must change beyond the slogans to actual development. And we demand it. So while Robert Mugabe is doing whatever he's doing in Zimbabwe and railing against the whites and railing against everything, he's externalizing funds, stealing from Zimbabwe, stealing diamonds and the resources of the Zimbabweans and externalizing it to Singapore and several other Asian countries because Abasungu apparently bafulwa. Bamulomo, Abasungu bamulomo. Bafulwa. So ambo kutumakumbi, leading to the impoverishment of the Zimbabweans. 3 million of them, they moved from Zimbabwe into South Africa to look for employment. A great Pan-African leader, I think that is where the greatest shame is, where a Pan-Africanist leader with strong rhetoric against colonialism would preside over a country where 3 million of his own citizens, they ran away from their country to go into neighboring South Africa to look for employment. It means then that there is something wrong with our models. We need to either interrogate them. I'm not saying that change them overnight, but interrogate them. Ask, what is going on? But the leaders of South Africa itself, they tolerated it. Thabo Mbeki, they tolerated it. They excused Robert Mugabe. They say it's fine. Leading to the crisis that South Africa has right now with foreigners. Now, imagine if Thabo Mbeki had put his foot down and said that we are not going to excuse this kind of Pan-African rhetoric while externalizing the wealth of Zimbabwe. We want you to pay attention to your own countries. Would Zimbabwe be in the same place? I don't think so. These are some of the very, very difficult questions that we as Africans must answer, and answer very, very honestly, because it does not make sense that a continent so rich, a continent with so many resources, could be experiencing this kind of trouble that it is experiencing, the kind of poverty where we can't even feed our stomachs. It's inexcusable. And the idea that we will continue blaming others does not make sense. The Chinese themselves stopped blaming others and took responsibility over their own destiny. They said if you have to be corrupt to support China, not be corrupt to steal from China. That's what they did. Yes, they did. The Arabs the same way. Singapore the same way, and several other developing nations. So what is going to mark a true post-African leader in Africa, for me, it's a leadership that is going to encourage the growth, economic growth of their own countries. Not this veneer, this pretense of Africans that are very rhetorical against colonialism, and yet in the night they are taking the resources of their own countries to the very countries where they are saying are colonialists. No. I've given you the example of Mobutu Sese Seko. I've given you the example of Robert Mugabe, and several other examples that we can talk about. No. You have gold, you have copper, you have diamonds, you have oil, you have uranium, you have platinum, you have manganese, fertile land. You have everything. Everything. And in fact, the money is also coming to your countries. It is coming. But instead of caring for the little man on the street, you're not. You're caring for yourselves. So happy Africa Day, Africa Freedom Day. Now, what is the issue then when we come to, when we bring this story far much closer to our situation in Zambia? The thief Stotela case. Thief Stotela. And I'm calling him a thief, and I'm very open about it. He's a thief. What is the issue? The issue is simple. Stotela stole from the people of Zambia, either through kickbacks or something like that. He stole from the people of Zambia. He's a thief. And then he made some deals with the anti-corruption. We've seen the whatever affidavit that he did. And he gave up one piece of land. We hope that the ACC is going to act quickly and reverse that agreement. It's not an agreement at all. No. Of course, Bowman, he changed his tune. So I don't know why he changed this tune overnight. Quite divine. With such a 360 tune. No, I'm supporting the fight against corruption. On that one, we agree. If he wants to fight the fight against corruption, he's our friend. Right? But the change was too drastic. Others are saying that it is because he's implicated in this murder investigation that is going on of Obed Kasongo. Right? And so he got wind, and so he decided to change tune. Because umuntu the day before aletuka katekati you wekateka inganda yabe ni chicken run ine inganda yandi ikari ikankala sana. The following day basale by very elaborate letter apologizing and saying that yeah, some people are speculating that it's because he's being investigated for murder. Something that was in the public domain. As a matter of fact, some of our people do not know, but he's already facing the grievous bodily harm charges in Luansha arising out of the same events. He's currently in Luansha magistrate, right? Because as far as Obed is concerned, because the the thing that they signed, when Obed died, what do you call it? Autopsy. Autopsy script skipped my mind. The autopsy say that Obed had died of malaria. So Lusambo was charged only with assault in Luansha. Nombaganshi nabaya mukushikula ekitumbi pokoti bapime bwino whether ichamuipe ni malaria. Nombanga basanga okweba the same assault is what actually led to death, then it's murder or manslaughter. Right? In any case, ngawaipayo omuntu elwalirwele malaria. The fact that ichamuipa ni malaria might not be thing because ichalenga na yowine pakumulopola wamulopola wamuma wamusakola elo afwa niwe waipaya. So that we see whether they are going to upgrade or whatever the autopsy results are going to show. But it's all in public domain. From NDC President Saboyi Mboela, from the then president of NDC, Vachimbaka Mbwiri, they were there. They say that they witnessed all these events, but they are in court right now, but we don't know whether they are connected to Bowman's apology. But this is also a lesson to all of us that are wielding power. Benefit fair. If it were a benefit fair, benefit fair. Don't exaggerate things, don't whatever. Just be fair. But they did not choose to be fair. Instead, they choose to be difficult and leading us to this kind of confusion that we have right now. That's part of the issues that we have right now. Now, you will notice that we've received some news that there's been a transfer of judicial officers, and some are saying, "But why? Kainge, kwaliba a magistrate afiro kuipekanya because the civil service kaidi afiro waipekanya." The Judicial Service Commission, they can transfer you anywhere because there is no jurisdiction attached to your job. So your job is just to be fair and preside over your cases. Otherwise, you can be sent anywhere around Zambia. So, if the Judicial Service Commission has found it reasonable to state transfer abantu, nachibe fine mkwai. Nga chinshi chalubana. At your transfer is interference in the judiciary. No. When you are a magistrate, you are employed by the people of Zambia. Ero no kukuchita transfer. Kutiba kuchita transfer. Ngata ulefanya transfer. Kanshideka. If it is simple. Why muntunga ba kuchita transfer? Okota ulefanya okuya. Kuleka kainga why mukuchita kufimbi. It's as simple as that. Nomba nishi ya shupa. Tapari na interference of the executive here. There is nothing like that. It's just that your conditions of service say that you work for the Judicial Service Commission and the people of Zambia. Eronga wako chita transfer. Nishu wako chita transfer kaidi we. Number if we learn that you can't transfer people, no, we can't ask that you don't transfer employees. Because abakuchinsa libena tebantu nangokumansa tebantu kanofe mulusaka iyo. In fact, abama magistrates ba mulusaka aba eba kari eba kutumako kumushi pako baya chitareza ma standards ya kumushi. Mwebe na kalale kabiye niko mumushi na imo muombe ko mumushi. You advocate for better result. In fact, na CDF, the President Aga Indechi, tuma na CDF kale kumushi. It has gone before you. So it's your time now na imwe, mwe bombera kwa kumushi. It's one Zambia, one nation. So there is nothing wrong with making some transfers. As a matter of fact, I'm asking the Judicial Service Commission, in my humble opinion, do more transfers. abali mukalale bonse mubatumeko kumushi muleteko abakumusha ma magistrate beseko abena mushi beseko na bena mtown dembe vintu fyala londolo kako nomba this idea kwa that we can't let the we can't allow the transfers away. It's normal. And in fact, they are not even complaining. Katuishina bale bachitra complain on their behalf. Our magistrates bali shibakale their own conditions of service. They are ready to serve our country anywhere around the world. Imagine kumirenge tatwakwata magistrate court. So nombaganshi tupange magistrate court kumirenge pakoba tama magistrates bamuba bachiteko transfer from Lusaka vayeko kumirenge. Principal resident magistrate kumirenge. That's what we want to see. You know? So the Judicial Service Commission has our support as citizens of this country in its effort to reorganize the judiciary and reassign roles among the judicial workers. Kainge ichalengero ko bata abantu bachinja obuteko nicho balefwaya kwabako ka reorganization of the nation. The way if echalo chitekwa echo twachinjisha obuteko kuchinje fyo muleteke echalo. If kulioko chinja involves transferring some people, let it be. Echo twavotere kairi kuchinjako not fyonse fimofine. No. Elections have consequences. And what are those consequences? Kuchinjako the way chalo chireteko, because if chale teko we know yo. Echo twairire kuma elections. After my elections to asalo buteko kwa nomba buchinje. No to teko bokonka nie poko chitafimofine fyare chitabalungu. No. Buchinje imitekere. Buchinje ko efintu, buchinje ko personnel. You know? The mama magistrates bakokola. Years and years at the same station. Babeleshanya nama lawyers, babeleshanya nomo banua, babeleshanya na abantu, nechibereshi bababelesha. So nombakashinga mwaba sesha. It will help improve the administration of justice. Pantuba new kulioko baya. Ichibereshi takuli, nokubeshi batababeshiba. So it's very easy for them to discharge their duties faithfully in a new place. Kumushi. Alabwavia. Port Belly. That's a song about Port Bellies. Corruption is not the biggest problem. It's governance problem that has led to corruption. Why do you call stealing of public resources as corruption? Sorry, I don't understand. Oh, and that it's not corruption but theft. Okay. Theft. Mario Oscar says, don't say corruption, just say theft. Fine. Theft. Ukuiba. Ubungo. I'm a tree planter. Any advice on how to fuse into African Freedom Day? Just plant more trees. And when they die, the money never goes back to their countries. Yeah. You see, that's the thing, because they do things that benefit their countries. Africa. We do things that benefit our countries. Gamwasanga uleteka wakubati nachita prioritize benefit ya chalo. Hold on to them. Like what is happening with President Hakainde Hichilema. Benefit ya chalo. What is it that is going to benefit our country? That is what he's trying to do in these 9 months. In Efion Demona. Mama. It's not about the ideological things that the no. If Abasungu they want to invest in our mining, nabese bach they invest kaidi mwe. Narenda the other day, Number take tukania yo ati mumwe Africans muileta abasungu pantu abasungu they were your colonialists. Okay, fine. Number what happened to the Chinese? Abe nama Chinese they've attracted abasungu in their country. Nama industries basungu. Number if we shouldn't. Fionse fyo bapanga kuno kufialo kuno fionse fyo bapanga fionse fya China. It's the Chinese companies. Ebarepanga. Barepangira abasungu. The amount of trade going on between China and America, unbelievable. Trade. China and America. Ababe nama Chinese nama Americans abalakaka suba. Narabo ekishapo fide nalandire. Balela kaka suba ubushiku balechita. Kumana fyo tubana. Economic development irechitika. Elo mwema Africans mwashala on the thing mule ishova. Okumwana kwana kalimobu kali is the solution. No, how come ama Chinese na ama Americans? Fira kafe munjeleko. Fira kafe chida bushiku. America and China quarreling all the time. And yet there is trade going on. No. Na ifo kutufetua isukirapo. What is happening? So, even Mugabe na Abasungu, they could have continued to quarrel. Akasuba, batubushiku. Ba Mugabe bena, tefe bachtirefyo yo. He did not learn from the very Chinese that he opened his countries to. The Chinese and the Americans, every day, firakafi. In fact, Nenkondo, China, Shani, they are preparing for war. Nefuma warships, and yet they are still exchanging things between them. Elo nomba imwe you have a small country, mwambo kulaka with Abasungu, and yet na trade fionsa mwapasa. No, we need a new orientation. Bakobati nangu tuleraka akasuba tuleraka obushuku ushuku firenda febwino to ensure economic development for our countries. So number President Hakainde Hichilema comes with this very, very huge orientation for the development of Zambia. He goes to seek investors. He goes to negotiate debt forgiveness. He's a chief marketing officer of the country. Just to ensure that our country does what? Attracts the investment that it needs. It co-ops other countries. He goes to Congo. Mama. Ukuya umfuana na makongolezi ukobati bane, let us form a cartel. Tumfuane. If we form a cartel, we are going to drive the next economy. Number eo tulanda ati yo mkwaita reteka bueno. Look to the future, attract investment, negotiate debt forgiveness, ask the IMF to give you more funding so that you can have room to maneuver. That is how it's supposed to be done. Transfers are normal. Magistrates in one place. Imagine 25 years magistrate. Awe. Batumeni ko kumushi. Actually, bonsefie. Muleta ma magistrates ba kumushi mubarete ku Lusaka. Elo mufumie ama magistrates ba mu Lusaka mubatwale ko kumushi. Bonsefi. Elo shirefwa yale ke kaidi. Bai bachite ko fimbi. Echo tuchurire. As a country, we are held hostage because apparently the judiciary must be our partners in fighting corruption. Not to cover the judiciary, you don't even understand. No. Let me say one more thing about the judiciary. One of the judges, former judges, known as Judge Joshua Banda, he has sued the state. He's saying that the state has not followed procedure. I don't know how that court case will actually go. But what I found interesting were the arguments that he makes in his affidavit. What he's saying is he applied to the Judicial Service Commission to be a judge. Then the Judicial Service Commission interviewed him, and then they appointed him as a judge, and then Parliament ratified his appointment. That's what he says. Then he says that he was removed by a very shoddy procedure by the Judicial Complaints Commission. Now, here's my problem. My problem is the very process that the Judicial Service Commission used to appoint judges in the past has been problematic. No, Mbakairi, Imamwali appointed in the dark, and yet you want to insist on an open system when you are being removed. Mamona, it's lack of balance here. It's lack of balance. Because in the process you have a Judicial Service Commission here tamuishi vyokwa judges varefuma. We as the citizens of this country, we say no, it is a corrupt system. We need to do away with that. The Judicial Service Commission must be transparent when it is hiring judges. Mufwire mwachita advertise in the newspaper. Elo nomba balefu ayokuba ma judges bachita apply. Elo nga bachita apply mwachita ngakuba bachita interview mwabachita interview. Elo mwasala po elo mwatwalira kateka. If you akoba tifichitika fyobushiku, you know, bonse na uluchero mwamona fya ma judges bare dumukira. No. Not in a democracy. Once we sort out that one, then we can talk about your removal. No, but if you were appointed in the dark, why should you be insisting on on being dismissed in the light? If number insist to go, but no, there's got to be transparency. Now you're in the Judicial Complaints Commission apparently, but to do whatever it wants to do. You see, Kwaliba, you've got democratic bodies that the Constitution actually tells that you can do whatever you want to do. Judicial Service Commission, you can do whatever you want to do. You are not subject to the control of anyone. Director of Public Prosecution, you can do whatever you want to do. You are not subject to the control of anyone. Now, Judicial Complaints Commissioner, you can do whatever you want to do. You are not subject to the control of anyone. No, that lack of transparency is undemocratic. Completely undemocratic. We want to see some democracy. We want to see some transparency in the way our administration, our country is being administered. And I'm very glad to cover there are indications from the New Dawn administration, from the Hichile Manalo Mango administration to bring some changes, to bring more transparency in the way we are appointing our judges, in the way judges are applying for that job. Not if you have school, you know. Valunda Papa Joshua Bandati ati people had an avenue to address all these problems with him. Which way? Judicial Service Commission, takwali way. There is no way that ordinary citizens in our country can go to the Judicial Service Commission and complain ukova to Imu Musala as a judge are corrupt. There isn't. Now, Parliament Queen, there isn't. Pantu, whoever has a majority goes. That's how this last batch of 10 judges, or is it 12 judges? It was like that. Tainted, completely tainted. Parliament still passed them and say that they are judges, inheriting this huge problem that we have in our country. If the judiciary wants respect, the judiciary itself must be respectable. Not Mwasumino Kobati, a very corrupt bunch of judges comes to join you, and you tell us, no, we can't say anything. It's okay. It's fine. You had the chance to challenge it. We had no chance to challenge the judicial suitability of Joshua Banda or Charles Kafunda, just Judge Kafunda. We had no way. Parliament knew the problems that these judges had, and yet Parliament still went ahead and ratified them. The President Lungu knew the problems that were with these gentlemen. He still went ahead and signed and saw them in as judges. And then today you are saying that it's a problem with the Judicial Complaints Commission. No, Vane. That's why what we are asking is more transparency. Gamasonta judge twalanda potuma shui twabika potuma shui kwa watu uyu aliba corrupt uyu achitirefi at least kwa wako ka hearing fidia fichitika ku South Africa kwena even when a president akasala fye umbi wale fwaya at least kwa wako ka hearing na Judicial Service Commission yachitana rank abantu turefu mukasali oyo like the Judicial Service Commission in South Africa had wanted somebody else to be Chief Justice. Elo Ramaphosa ebere okay no Shasaleudia I'm going to choose the runner-up to become the Chief Justice. But you know kateka Monaco to balance a few things. Maybe it was tribalism, tribal balancing. Amona ebere ina mvenda uyubale sonta mukosa nangu is my fellow northerner, so in order for me to balance a few things narasala umuzulu to be a Chief Justice. Amona, all those are very important considerations that the president needs to have. But at least from the Judicial Service Commission, tufurutuamona nama rankings the Judicial Service Commission has applied. Also muntu nakwata mokase okwebata uyuta abasuitable kuliko something like that. That is the kind of nation that we are looking forward to having. Pungwa Tasakamana is dealing with the unrepentant thieves. Fianta them. Monday night. They should be fianted. All right. We are already now into our conversation. This has been a presentation of TVBAKWETU. Elias Munshya here, and hope to see you again sometime. Tomorrow is Wednesday. One of our MPs is going to be with us, Honorable Hudson Maveta. Maveta twami fuluka. Kwa libafuti kaingi resident MP mwatuchita neglect. So tomorrow Wednesday, and then Thursday the Frank Saliki show, and then on Friday we have another exciting program. Maybe I'll be back. On Saturday, Mr. Mapanza Nkwirimba's show, where he speaks with the grassroots about constituency development funds. A very, very important. And then Sunday, we have the Linda Banks show. And then on Monday, we have the one-on-one show on Mondays. All right? Yeah. So thank you very much for joining me today. Elias Munshya here. God